In nature, few creatures embody a psychological truth as perfectly as the turtle. Its entire existence is built around a simple, elegant principle. The world is full of vast, unpredictable beauty and danger. Its body is soft, its pace is deliberate, its senses are tuned to the slightest tremor, and so it carries its shelter with it. The shell is not a cage, it is not a prison. It is portable safety, a retreat forged not from malice, but from necessity. Now, imagine that same principle translated into a human heart. This is the story of the person who has learned to live the same way, not with a literal shell, but with a psychological one. The kindest soul in the room, the deepest feeler, the most loyal friend, who, when the emotional weather shifts, has learned to do one thing: retract. They don't leave with a slam of the door. There's no argument, no grand, fiery exit. They just pull the drawbridge up, slowly, leaving behind a polite, quiet space where a connection used to be. From the outside, this can feel like a wall. It can be mistaken for coldness, for distance, for rejection. We might call them closed off, hard to reach, difficult to love. But what if we've been reading the map all wrong? What if that wall isn't a barrier meant to keep you out, but a fortress built to protect something precious, sensitive, and fragile inside? This is the central paradox we're exploring today. Why do the kindest, most sensitive people often build the tallest walls? This isn't a story about someone being shy or difficult. This is a story about protection. It's about the psychology of the person who has learned, often through silent suffering, that vulnerability must be preceded by absolute safety. That to be soft in a hard world, you sometimes need a shelter you can carry with you. This is the psychology of the turtle person. If you've ever felt this way, or loved someone who does, you'll recognize the signs. But these signs are often misunderstood. We might call them introverted, and while they may cherish solitude, this is something different. Introversion is about energy. Social interaction drains it. Solitude restores it. What the turtle person experiences is not drain, but threat assessment. Their behaviors form a distinct pattern. They are the slowest to trust. While bonds form quickly around them, they are measuring, listening, calculating the emotional safety of the terrain. They are the listener who doesn't share. They can hold space for your deepest fears with breathtaking empathy, but ask about theirs, and you'll meet a polite, practiced deflection. They are the master of the low-maintenance facade, wearing "I'm okay" as armor, because needing nothing feels safer than needing someone and being forgotten. This is the first crucial distinction to grasp. This isn't a preference, it's a strategy. Their retreat is a calculated maneuver. It's pulling valuable resources, their attention, their vulnerability, their heart, back behind a fortified line because a threat, however subtle, has been perceived. A raised voice, a casual dismissal, a promise that sounds a little too light. These aren't just moments, they are alarms. They aren't opting out of connection. They are engaged in a constant, silent calculus. Is this safe? Is this person predictable? Will this cost me more than I can afford to pay? It is the behavior of a creature that knows what it is to be exposed and has perfected the art of becoming a fortress. This state of perpetual readiness has a name in psychology: hypervigilance. Think of the turtle's neck perpetually extended to sense the world. muscles coiled, ready to snap back at the slightest vibration. That is the turtle person's mind, a relentless background process scanner, monitoring for emotional danger. A dismissive glance, a broken agreement, the shadow of abandonment. They notice everything. The sigh you thought you hid, the commitment that sounded hesitant. Their nervous system is not broken, it is brilliantly, painfully adapted. It's a psychological immune system turned up to maximum, reacting to potential infections long before a fever would ever start. This hypervigilance is the engine of the shell. It's the why behind the retreat. But it itself is not the origin. And this leads us to the most human and often the most painful question. Why? What forges this kind of survival architecture in a person? What happened that made the shell not just an option, but a necessary piece of equipment for navigating the world? To understand that, we have to look not at the shelter, but at the storm it was built to weather. The shell is not a birthright. It is not a personality trait you are born with. It is forged, crafted in response to an environment. For the turtle in nature, the environment is literal. Predators, the elements, the constant calculation of safety. For the human turtle, the environment is emotional. And often the forging begins early. There are common threads in this origin story. The first is the emotionally neglected child. This is the child whose feelings were not met with curiosity, but with inconvenience. You're too sensitive. Stop crying. I don't have time for this. Their inner world was treated as a burden, a problem to be quieted, not a landscape to be explored. So they learned the first rule of the shell. Your softness is a liability. Keep it to yourself. The second thread is the little parent, or the trauma bearer. This is the child who, whether through family illness, dysfunction, or loss, had to become strong too soon. They weren't allowed to be the soft one. They had to hold things together, to be the listener, the peacekeeper, the emotional anchor for the adults around them. Vulnerability wasn't just unattended to. It was a luxury they could not afford. Their feelings were postponed, shelved, locked away to deal with the crisis at hand. They learned the second rule. Your needs are secondary. Your role is to protect, not to be protected. In both cases, the child's nervous system undergoes a profound adaptation. The brain's alarm center, the amygdala, learns to stay on high alert. The body's stress response system becomes a familiar, almost constant background hum. This is the raw neurological material of hypervigilance. Psychologically, this often crystallizes into what's known as a fearful avoidant attachment style. It is the deepest relational paradox, a desperate yearning for connection, paired with a bone-deep terror of it. To be close is to be vulnerable. To be vulnerable is to be hurt. So, they live in the exhausting push-pull of approach and retreat, wanting the very thing that feels most dangerous. It is crucial to understand this not as damage, but as ingenious adaptation. The child did not get a defective heart. They got a dangerous world, and they built the best defense they could with the materials they had. The shell worked. It allowed a sensitive, soft creature to survive in an ecosystem that, for a time, was not safe. It was a life-saving adaptation. But here lies the silent tragedy of all adaptations. What saves you at one point in your life can begin to confine you in the next. The shelter that protected the seedling from the storm can stunt the growth of the tree. The child who learned to retract to survive becomes the adult who doesn't know how to fully emerge. The shell becomes home. And living inside a fortress while safe changes the nature of your lived experience. You stop asking, "What do I feel?" and start asking, "Is it safe to feel?" To see only the shell is to miss the person entirely, because inside this fortress of caution and quiet, there exists a world of profound depth. This is the central paradox of the turtle person. The very sensitivity they are protecting is what makes them extraordinary. They are often the deepest feelers, the most loyal allies, the most creative and empathetic minds in the room. They don't feel less, they feel more. So much more that the world in its bluntness can feel like an assault. Their inner life is not barren. It is a rich, complex, and often overwhelming ecosystem of emotion, intuition, and care. The shell isn't hiding an emptiness, it is containing an ocean. But living within these walls comes at a relentless cost. It is a life of exhausting, invisible calculus. Every social interaction is pre-scripted and post-analyzed. A simple, "How was your day?" requires a risk assessment. Do I give the true, heavy answer or the safe, light one? Tone of voice is decoded for hidden meaning. Body language is read like an urgent text. The energy spent on this constant monitoring, this emotional labor of the self, is immense. It's like running sophisticated security software in the background of your mind 24 hours a day. It drains the battery of your spirit long before any actual connection even happens. This is where we find the concepts of masking and identity fatigue. Masking is the act of presenting a curated, acceptable, low-threat version of yourself to the world. It's the cheerful, "I'm fine," when you're not. It's nodding along when you disagree to avoid conflict. It's laughing at the joke that stung. For the turtle person, masking isn't deceit, it's a survival protocol. It's the camouflage they wear to move through the world without triggering alarms, both in others and in their own vigilant nervous system. And over time, this gives rise to identity fatigue. When you mask for so long, a haunting question emerges. Who am I underneath the performance? The self becomes a series of roles, the reliable one, the easygoing one, the listener, rather than a coherent, feeling person. They may know how to be what others need, but lose touch with what they themselves want, feel, or are. The authentic self becomes a rumor, a memory felt only in the deepest solitude. This is the cruel inner conflict. The protection system, designed to safeguard a sensitive core, ends up obscuring that very core from the world and sometimes from themselves. The shell that allows them to function can also prevent them from being felt. They can give love, but struggle to receive it, because receiving requires a dropping of the guard. They can offer safe harbor to others while feeling perpetually shipwrecked within their own walls. The tragedy is not that they are unloved. It is that the love offered to them often lands on the shell, and they feel it only as a distant vibration, wondering why its warmth cannot quite reach the cold they feel inside. This internal architecture doesn't just shape a private world, it scripts an entire way of relating. The shell dictates the terms of every connection, often creating patterns that look like love or friendship, but are laced with a specific, structured distance. In friendship, the turtle person often becomes the therapist friend. This is a role of profound safety for them. In the helper's chair, they are in control, on solid ground. Their empathy has a clear outlet. Their sensitivity is a tool, not a vulnerability. But flip the script. Let them be the one in crisis, needing to be listened to, and the system redlines. To need is to be exposed. To ask is to risk being a burden. So they vanish. Not because they don't value the friendship, but because the role of the one who needs feels like stepping onto dangerously thin ice. In romance, this creates the hot and cold cycle that can feel so confusing to a partner. When things are light, fun, and undemanding, they can be present, even deeply affectionate. The coast is clear, and they can venture out. But as intimacy deepens, as expectations and interdependency grow, the perceived threat level rises. Enmeshment, the loss of self in another, feels like the ultimate danger. Their core programming sounds the alarm. Autonomy threatened, retreat to safety. So they pull back. They might become distant, pick fights over small things, or create emotional space. They are not playing games. They are following a survival protocol written years ago. Closeness equals pain. Dependency equals danger. They are pushing away the very connection they want most to obey a deeper commandment. Protect the soft core at all costs. This leads to the ultimate painful irony. Their protective behaviors often trigger the very rejection they fear. A partner, confused and hurt by the withdrawal, may become demanding or distant themselves. A friend, tired of the one-sided dynamic, may stop reaching out. The turtle person then sees this response as proof their system was right all along. See, people leave. It's not safe. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy of astonishing precision, reinforcing the walls it was designed to justify. Beneath all of this lies a quiet, persistent grief. It's not just grief for lost people, but for lost possibilities. They grieve for the connection that almost was, for the version of themselves that could have been relaxed, open, and trusting in that relationship. They carry a photo album in their mind of moments where the shell came between them and a moment of pure, unfiltered belonging. This grief rarely has a place to go, because from the outside, they were the ones who left. So they mourn in silence, inside the very walls that caused the loss. For a long time, the shell provides what it promised: safety, a manageable existence, a world where hurt is kept at a predictable distance. But a profound shift can begin to occur, so slowly it's almost imperceptible. The loneliness within the safety starts to speak. It's no longer just the absence of others. It's the absence of yourself within those walls. The curated, controlled, masked version of you begins to feel less like a protection and more like a life sentence. This is when the haunting question arrives, often in the quietest hour. Is this peace, or am I just numb? It's a terrifying question because it challenges the entire foundation of your survival. If the answer is numbness, then the shell hasn't been saving you from pain. It's been saving you from feeling. And to feel is to be alive. The very architecture that guaranteed your safety now stands accused of robbing you of your aliveness. You begin to notice the difference. Safety is the absence of threat. Aliveness is the presence of connection, meaning, spontaneity, risk, and joy. You have one, but you are starving for the other. You realize you have been trading depth for defense, intimacy for insulation. This is the turning point. Not a dramatic breakdown, but a quiet internal awakening. The realization that the shell, once a lifesaver, has become a limiting factor, that you can no longer grow within its confines, that the fortress has become a perfectly self-contained, exquisitely crafted prison. The fear doesn't vanish. In fact, it may roar louder than ever. But a new voice emerges alongside it, a whisper of longing, a memory of a self that existed before the walls went up, or a vision of a self that could exist beyond them. It is the moment you stop asking, "How do I make myself safer inside here?" and start wondering, "What would it cost me to try the door?" So, where do you go from this realization? The path forward is not about destruction. It is not about shattering the shell you spent a lifetime building. That would be an act of self-violence, and it would leave you raw and terrified, likely prompting an even faster retreat. Healing for the turtle person is a process of renegotiation. It's about developing a new, conscious relationship with your own defenses. It begins with stage 1, recognition without judgment. This is simply seeing the shell for what it is, not a flaw, not a weakness, not something to hate, but an adaptation, a brilliant, life-preserving piece of engineering built by a younger you who was doing their absolute best to survive. You thank that younger self. You honor the shell's service. You strip it of its moral weight. It is not good or bad. It is a tool. Then, stage 2, mapping the triggers. If the shell is a tool that automatically deploys, you must learn its trigger mechanism. This is detective work on your own nervous system. You get curious. What specific sensation, word, tone, or situation causes that immediate retract reflex? Is it a raised voice, a specific type of criticism, the feeling of someone being disappointed in you, the ambiguity of a new social situation? You start to keep a mental or even a physical log, not to blame others, but to understand your own internal alarms. This knowledge is power. It transforms the reaction from an unconscious panic into a recognizable signal. You begin to separate the past trigger, the original wound, from the present stimulus, what's happening now. This is the core principle of this entire journey. Healing isn't about destroying the shell. It's about learning you have a hand on the drawbridge. You are not powerless before your own protection. The goal is to move from automatic retreat to chosen openness, from being governed by an old defense system to becoming its wise operator. The shell remains, but it is no longer your warden. It becomes a piece of equipment you can choose to use, rather than a home you are doomed to inhabit. Knowledge alone isn't enough. The nervous system learns through experience. It needs new, small proofs to challenge its old theories. This is where you move from mindset to action, through what we can call micro-experiments in safety. The rule is simple. Find the safest person or situation you can imagine and practice one thing that scares you just 1% more than usual. This is the 1% rule. It's not about grand confessions. It's about texture. It's texting a friend, "Actually, I'm having a rough day," instead of, "I'm fine." It's stating a small preference. "I'd rather see this movie," or "I need to leave by 10. It's allowing a 2-second pause after someone asks, "How are you?" before your autopilot answer kicks in. Each of these is a tiny message to your inner sentry. See, I extended a little. The world did not end. The connection did not rupture. To facilitate this, you consciously build what I call a safety portfolio. You curate your relational environment. You identify the people who feel predictably safe, not perfect, but consistent, non-judgmental, and respectful of your pace. These are your Alfreds. You spend more time in settings that feel low pressure. You reduce exposure to high-demand, unpredictable, or critical environments while you're doing this repair work. This isn't hiding, it's strategic healing. You wouldn't try to learn to walk on a busted leg in the middle of a storm. You find solid ground first. And for those who love a turtle person, understand this. Your role is not to pry the shell open. That will only make them retract harder. Your role is to be the consistent, safe climate outside. True patience isn't waiting silently while resenting their slowness. It's actively communicating your steady presence. It's saying, I'm here when you're ready to talk. And then not punishing them with coldness if they're not ready today. It's respecting a no without drama. It's showing up with the same warmth after they've withdrawn, proving that your care isn't conditional on their performance. You are proving, through action, that your space is a place where their softness can eventually, maybe, be safe. This path is iterative, not linear. You will have days where you retreat. The old fear will win. That's not failure, it's data. It means a trigger was hit, and your system needed its old tool. The work is to notice without shame and ask, what scared me? Can I try a 1% experiment tomorrow? You are not racing to become someone else. You are practicing, in millimeters, how to inhabit the space where your sensitivity and your safety can coexist. Throughout this journey, it's easy to frame the shell only as a wound, a limitation, something to be overcome. But that is only half the story. To see it only as a burden is to miss its profound forged strength. A turtle's shell is not just a hiding place. It is structural integrity. It is what allows the turtle to navigate deep waters, to withstand pressures that would crush a softer form. It is armor, yes, but it is also architecture. The psychological shell holds a parallel wisdom. The very experiences that compelled its construction also forged unmatched strengths within. Think of the qualities born in this crucible. Profound discernment. The turtle person is not easily fooled by charm or surface noise. They see patterns, intentions, and character with a clarity that comes from lifelong observation. Deep, proven loyalty. Their trust is not given lightly, but once earned, it is a covenant. They know the cost of betrayal, so they honor their word. Resilience. They are experts in endurance, in bearing emotional weight alone, in getting back up. And perhaps most powerfully, the ability to offer a rare, safe, non-judgmental presence to others. Having lived behind walls, they create a sacred space where others feel they can, for a moment, put theirs down. These are not consolation prizes. They are superpowers forged in the same fire that created the need for armor. The goal of healing, then, is not to become a different animal. A turtle will never be a rabbit, flitting openly through the field without a care, and it shouldn't try to be. The goal is mastery of your own environment. It is the evolution from a turtle that only knows how to retract, to a turtle that knows when to retract, when to bask in the sun, and when to move steadily forward with its shelter as part of its strength, not its entire identity. You integrate the shell. You carry its wisdom, the caution, the depth, the resilience, while gradually learning you are safe enough to sometimes put the weight down. If you saw yourself in this portrait, if you recognized the architecture of your own shell, felt the weight of its protection and the quiet ache of its isolation, then please hold this final thought. Your depth did not come for free. Your sensitivity, your capacity to feel the world so intensely, required protection in a reality that isn't always gentle. The shell was the price. It was the necessary fortress for a treasure that was too precious to leave exposed. But here, now, in this understanding lies a key. The very wisdom you gained from building those walls, the discernment, the patience, the knowledge of your own strength. That same wisdom can now guide you in learning, slowly and safely, how to open the gate. Your past built a shelter. Your present recognizes it, and your future gets to decide how you live within it and beyond it. You were never just a fortress. You were always the precious life inside.